Joining me right now with reaction, editor and publisher of the Gartman Letter, Dennis Gartman. And Dennis, I just want to remind everybody that it's actually healthy for the Fed to say that things are good enough that they may have to increase rates.
It's not a bad idea for the Fed to say things are doing quite well, thank you very much. As my good friend Brian Westbury always says, we have to remember this is an economy that is not a racehorse, it's a plow horse, and it continues to plow nicely and pleasantly forward, and it has been doing so. It's likely to continue for a while further, which means rates have to go higher, and the Fed chairman has acknowledged that fact.
I want to point out something that I bring up a lot here, and that's the law of unintended consequences, shall we say, when it comes to the Federal Reserve. In other words, the Fed, by keeping the money flowing, by keeping rates so long for such a historic amount of time, they, in some ways, Dennis, I fear, took away the normal push-pull, the yin-yang of a supply and demand equation.
Yes.
In other words, why should I do something today when I can do it tomorrow or next year? Because money's going to be just as cheap, if not cheaper then. And
there will be deflationary forces that were incumbent for that long period of time. But now the Fed has tried to create an inflation. Perhaps eventually that shall show up. But thus far, the productivity numbers have and the supply of labor from abroad continues to keep wages and wages down, productivity up. So inflation has remained shockingly low for a protracted period of time.
Interesting. Yeah, shockingly low. And look, I mean, you think of productivity, you think of the creativity, right, within the tech space and how much it has affected inflation.
And let's think about productivity and creativity in the oil patch, what they have done in the oil patch over the course of the last 5 years. To think that the United States is now soon going to be the #1 producer of crude oil in the world. We just surpassed Saudi Arabia. We are going to catch Russia in the not-too-distant future because of fracking and horizontal drilling. It's not just technology and computers. It's technology in the most old-style economy. I mean, that I think is what's really impressive to me.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that, yes, we are going to get some inflation, a little bit of it. That's good. That's healthy. We need to see some inflation. For goodness sakes, wages haven't grown in like 30 years. So we need a little bit of this. We don't want it coming too fast, too quick. But a little bit is a good thing. Hey, let me ask you, what did you think of Jerome Powell? Because this is his first testimony before Congress as Fed chair.
I thought he did a great job, to be quite honest. I thought he answered the questions very well. As we were talking beforehand, I'm surprised at how somebody of that consequence can have some of the silliest questions asked of him and abide the questions without breaking into abject laughter or just putting his head down and crying.
Because I laugh often when I watch these things.
Because we're off screen, we can do that. But this poor gentleman has to answer those questions as if they're important and to be acknowledged. I think he did a very first-rate job, to be quite honest.
Sadly, too many members of Congress do not understand economics, and that's quite apparent when you see them question the Fed chairman. So I'm always impressed by every Fed chairman's willingness to deal with that.
Yeah.
There was one particular example, Dennis and I were talking off camera before the show started, that struck both of us as especially egregious. Here we go. Keith Ellison questioning Jerome Powell. Watch.
Would you like to just talk about what it would mean to take 700,000 people out of the economy? Let's just say they all went to Mars for some reason.
In fairness, Congressman, I really am not going to get into the debate over DACA. I'm just not going to do that.
I'm not asking you to, sir. I'm just asking you to talk about the economics of it.
Well, let me ask you this. Let
me see if you could answer this. What does it mean to have a group of people in their prime working years suddenly disappear from the economy?
Well, all else held equal, you would lose some productivity from that, some output from that.
Okay, thank you very much.
He's like, yes, I won. You're going to lose productivity, but here's the thing. You're actually going to have a pretty big effect on wages by reducing the amount of labor there.
Yes, of course.
I mean, and this has been the argument that too often poor and minority populations are hurt by the illegal immigrant workforce because the illegal immigrants are willing to work for a whole lot less money because they're not here legally.
That's what's kept wage prices down, no question about that. And I was impressed by the Fed chairman's ability to explain that, one, this is not the Fed's responsibility. The Fed's responsibility is to keep inflation in check, to keep it to 2%, and to keep the economy moving forward. To ask that he not be questioned about DACA and to be questioned 5, 6, 7 times and to be able to say, okay, finally, if you take 700,000 people out of the equation, all things being otherwise equal, it will probably have some damage to the economy. But you and I would have had a hard time finally not saying enough is enough.
And I was watching that and I thought, but you forgot the but, right? Like, yes, temporarily you're going to have a little bit of a pullback in productivity, but you know what, it actually would be rather healthy for all those people. I talk about the hourglass economy all the time, Dennis, all those people on the bottom there that have been slipping as our middle class gets squeezed.
And they have been.
They have a shot then of getting a higher wage because they're not competing with that other labor pool. Anyway, this is, you know, an interesting, we're going to keep discussing this. I have a panel on this later because there was a case in Chicago of a bakery that had to fire all the illegal workers. They hired legal American workers to come in. Guess what? They had to pay them more.
They had to pay them a lot more.
Anyway, we've got more on it coming up. Dennis Gartman, it's so good to see you. Thank
good to be
you
here.
very
Thanks, Trish.
much.